Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Pendulum on Lagos Television. The Pendulum is our weekly political program on this station. I am Ajibola Ojeshola. Today, the 29th of May 2025, makes it 2 years that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was elected as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And while campaigning to become the President of the country, he promised so many things, and of course, he did promise as well to renew the hope of Nigerians in different sectors of the economy. 2 years down the line, how well have we fared? That will be our focus on the program today. But before I introduce my guest to you this afternoon, we'll take a very short break on the program to bring you In the Polity, which is a summary of political activities in the country for the week. Stay with us. Welcome back. And again, today makes it 2 years that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was elected as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Today on the show, we'll be assessing the impact of his government so far in the economy, security, youth empowerment, and some other key sectors of the economy. What has been your rating of the performance of Mr. President so far, looking at different indices in our journey as a country so far since he became the president of the most powerful nation in the African continent, which is Nigeria. Joining us this afternoon on the program is a spokesperson of the APC, which is the ruling party in the country. We have with us this afternoon the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Mr. Felix Moka. It's a pleasure to have you this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, good. Your party campaigned vigorously before the 2023 presidential election, and quite a number of promises were made to Nigerians. 2 years down the lane now, how would you say your party has fared so far?
Well, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has fared quite well in the circumstances of our national life. Now, this president came into office against the backdrop of long-standing massive distortions and massive deficits, not just in relation to the economy, but in relation to virtually all other sectors. And from the outset, the president identified some key policy areas that he decided he needed to tackle to their roots in order for not just to win short-term, gains, but to, somewhat fix the structural problems of the economy. Number one was the fuel subsidy crisis that our country had undergone for quite a long time. The second was the contradictions in the foreign exchange regime of the country. Now, other policy areas are heavily intertwined with these two key policy trusts. The president decided to take out the subsidy on fuel and harmonize the dual or multiple foreign exchange systems that were in operation in the country. Everyone in this country, whether you're an economist or a politician or just the everyday people, I think there was virtual consensus that the first subsidy system had to go because it had become the bane of the economy of this country. It was holding the economy down, completely nullifying the country's potential for growth and for expansion. That was not going to happen because, we were spending well over 80% of all our earnings between the subsidy system and servicing our debt. The country was completely flat on its belly. And this president said, no, I won't do what other presidents had done, which was simply to postpone the doomsday, to kick the can down the road for someone else to solve. He said, no, I will fix it. I will try to fix the problems. Take our foreign exchange system that was operational. The value of the naira for many years was simply dictated. Somebody just decided, for whatever reason, naira has to exchange, at 460 to $1, without reference to the market, without really seeking a market-determined value for the naira. And this encouraged a lot of illegalities, a lot of, craziness. People round-tripping dollar that they get at 460 and turn around without leaving their bedrooms and get, 900, get 800, get, 1,000 naira to the dollar. Now, this was a disincentive to investment, which is why we didn't quite see for many years the kind of inflow of foreign capital into Nigeria, because the arbitrage was a defeating system on its own. So this president decided to tackle both structural problems, and he has done so. Look, let me say this. I think that the president and everyone with him were under no illusion that removing this subsidy and harmonizing the dual foreign exchange rate will obviously create transient economic difficulties for our people. He was well aware of that, and he said that repeatedly. And see, let me also stress that at the time this president campaigned and made promises to Nigerians, other political contestants for the office of president also made promises to Nigerians.
Remove the subsidy.
Yes, and those promises are not different when it comes to macroeconomic policy.
What
they
about
were not
the timing?
different from what the president promised.
What about the timing?
Now, there was nothing wrong about the timing. The timing was impeccable. As a matter of fact, the timing was such that if the president had not made that decision on day one, there's no telling whether he would ever have made the decision. If he had waited until the second day, or a week later, or 2-3 months down the road, I can bet you that it is possible that that decision would never have been made. Now, don't forget, this president was not the first president to contemplate ending fuel subsidy. He was not the first. But the others didn't have the political will to do so because of their understanding of the momentary impact of doing so. Even though everyone agrees it will inure in a long-term benefit for our country, no one was under any doubt that it will create momentary difficulties. And that is what those presidents didn't want, because they believe that making such a policy will make them unpopular with the electorate. So they would rather set Nigeria up for long-term devastation and destruction than create this momentary difficulty and cause them to become somewhat unpopular. But you see, the president said that the future of our country and the future of our children was by far more important than any political expediency or any electoral calculation that held the other presidents back from doing what was needed to be done. Because if they had done it, we won't be here today. We'll be better off. We'll be far, far gone, on the positive side than we are today. But look, this was done. And of course, the pressure and the resistance and the opposition and the protest and all of the manipulators who could have used that occasion to kill that policy or kill that initiative would have been all over the place. So look, he is the president. There was a reason he was sworn as the president. He took an oath to the best of his ability to govern. And he made the decision and he's willing to take responsibility for that decision because he is confident, just as we are in the party, that the decisions were right and that ultimately Nigerians will celebrate the day those announcements were made, because already we're beginning to see macroeconomic indications, positive indications of outcome.
Okay.
For example,
Mr.
yes.
Moka, before we talk about the market indications and, of course, how positive the impact of the subsidy removal had been, are you conscious of the fact that, fine, as noble as that step was, the purchasing power of Nigerians as we speak today is dwindling? And looking at the front pages of some papers today, the major opposition party, I don't know whether to call them that, which is the PDP, complain that the economy under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is getting worse, as well as the level of insecurity. What do you have to say to that?
No, that's all. The PDP, as I said to somebody who was making inquiries about that, those statements that came out of their NEC meeting were nothing short of an effort by the PDP to tranquilize its members, to give them some feeling that the party was in fact engaging, whereas it needed to use the occasion of its NEC meeting to deal with its own intestine strife that is keeping it from doing what it's supposed to do as an opposition party. So, we don't reckon with those words. They're just empty words. The PDP, I don't want to go, that far back in history, but, if they need it, it should be said that the whole, that, the two APC presidents so far, President Muhammadu Buhari and this president, have been trying to dig us out of, were dug deep by the PDP. It was the profligacy of the PDP, the recklessness of the government, where votes for security, national security, were simply shared. Look, let's not have, that short of a memory of what transpired when Buhari came in. All of the revelations of how contracts were awarded. Lagos-Ibadan Expressway was awarded multiple times, but was never built. You see, so the PDP does not have any moral authority to say the kinds of things that they put in their very bogus statement out of their NEC meeting yesterday. So I don't take it that seriously. But the point is that under this administration, Nigeria is witnessing a major shift at the structural level. We are correcting the errors of so many years, repositioning the economy for growth and sustainable development. For example, every country of the world, one of the finest indicators of, the health of the economy is, the level of your export in relation to your import. Nigeria, up until this administration, had been a net importer of everything, from toothpick to toilet roll to machinery. Today, Nigeria is a net exporter. We are enjoying favorable balance of payments, meaning that we're exporting more than we're importing, and therefore saving some, hard-earned foreign exchange to apply to other, areas of life. It also means that Nigerians are now beginning to see opportunities to engage in productive, ventures, whether it's in the agricultural area or in the real sector or in the service industry. We're seeing a lot of, Novotech, young people starting up really successful, tech, industries. All of that, including the reform in the oil sector, where we are seeing a huge rise in our export, numbers. Now headed upwards of, hopefully in a short while, we're going to hit the 2 million mark. We are already, about 1.8 million barrels of oil a day because of the reform and because of the, relative tranquility we have in the Niger Delta region. This is all, it's not happening by accident. This is happening through deliberate intervention by this government. Is it in the area of, education, where we have seen for the first time a long period where students have been in school and not at home because we haven't had the sort of incessant strike that we had, up until now? Is it students who, are indigent, who didn't have access to the, financial means to study, but who now have access to the student loan fund? Is it that? Is it, look, or in the transport area, the introduction of the CNG, gas for, public and even private, transportation. Those things are still evolving. But I know that there's people who are in a hurry, who want to see all of the, massive infrastructure that is required, just like you have filling stations, infrastructure that's required to operate, the CNG gas system on scale. We will get there. But the point is that this government, being visionary, has started to leverage, that sector and that, natural product for, as a source of energy. So with time, we're going to have more infrastructure, and it will become like just driving around the corner and have filling stations. You're going to have these CNG, stations where you can just top up and move.
Okay.
The important thing is that the initiative is there, and we are all going to be better for it.
Okay, I was going to take you up on that CNG initiative. Of course, we have seen people commend it, saying that it is cheaper to use CNG than using PMS, which is petrol. But how significant have we been able to see the impact of the CNG buses in different parts of the country? I am in Lagos. I see it every day. That's one. And secondly, if the statement of the PDP is bogus on the state of the economy, what about the level of insecurity in the country?
So I was saying that it was under the PDP that insurgency and, the likes of Boko Haram and other entities, consolidated. They were able to put their boots on the ground and claim territory in some states in the north. It was under the watch of the PDP. It was under the watch of the PDP that Abuja became, the unsafest in the history of Nigeria, in the history of the Federal Capital, Territory. It was under their watch. Now, the Buhari administration came in and pushed back vehemently. Our valiant armed forces, took the battle to insurgents and bandits and pushed them back, cleared out territory that they had taken to return to their normal life. Yes, under the President Tinubu administration, no president has given more, material to the military to engage, and our military are doing a fantastic job. Now, don't forget, evil also does not sleep. While our troops and the president and our leaders are battling to equip the army and to give them what they need to fight this war, those who do evil to our people also do not sleep. They, even though we crush them repeatedly, they all rate warfare. We must keep that in mind. It is not a conventional warfare. These are very flighty, shadowy groups who simply take advantage of the civilian population, do damage, and then vanish into the forest or wherever their safe haven may be. Sometimes they don't even stay within the Nigerian territory, but escape into our neighboring countries. So look, and then you must also factor in the regional complexity, that what we're discussing about insecurity in Nigeria is not an isolated matter. Our neighboring countries are going through a similar thing. And then often we have collateral damage where these marauders filter into the country, strike opportunistically, and withdraw. But make no mistake, this president has made it clear that one of his priorities in office is to take this battle to the very last man in those entities and defeat them. But we must also, I think, stop for a moment to applaud our army and our troops, our security forces, wherever they are. We are very thankful for their service because, not many citizens understand the excruciating difficulties it is to be in the front lines. So we salute their courage, we salute their patriotism, and we hope that Nigerians will again begin to celebrate our troops more and give them the encouragement to go out and fight this war on our collective behalf.
Okay, your answer to the other leg of my question, the CNG buses.
To do CNG stations also takes some resources. Individuals have to first understand it and decide whether they want to actually get involved, put down investments in that sector, in the hope of making profit down the road. But the point is that this government has, I think, started something that is going to be the future of energy in the country. A time will come when reliance on fossil fuel, on PMS, will reduce drastically, whereas people are going to opt more for a cleaner, cheaper energy in CNG. So I just urge our people to be a bit patient for this infrastructure to grow, not just in Lagos, but elsewhere in the country, so that people will have access and be able to make the conversions to use this source of energy for transportation and make transport easier and cheaper for our people to transport produce from the farms and to go about their business in their lives.
Okay, aside from the economy now, and of course, the insecurity that we spoke about, let's also look at the health sector, Greek, and of course, aviation in the country. What has been those significant impacts that we have seen since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over the mantle of leadership?
There's been a lot of impact, in the area of healthcare. As you know, just a few days ago, we put up this national summit for our party, where we brought together, ministers of the Federal Republic and, quite a good number of them who came to share their, progress report with Nigerians. Now, you could see all of the value added under this administration in the area of healthcare. We have seen, thousands of healthcare centers either newly built or upgraded. This government is taking healthcare closer to our people, providing them services that they didn't have access to before. For maternal healthcare, there's been a lot of programs aimed at providing access, free access to healthcare for our pregnant mothers, helping them to again either save money or take away the burden of paying out of pocket for those services. There's a lot of cutting edge healthcare programs, partnerships with private sector, multilateral begin agencies that this government are signing, that with time we're going to begin to see massive innovation begin to happen in that sector and to increase access and quality of healthcare that our people have. So everywhere you look, you see markers of progress. And this is just 2 years. There's a reason that the Constitution granted a 4-year term to any president, just like it's also granted to the governors. There's a reason for that because the law, the framers of our constitution understand that upon inauguration, any government has that downtime where they first understand what was going on in the country, where they get all the briefings, they hand over notes, and do their own modeling, across sectors before beginning to implement policy, and then before outcomes begin to show. That curve happens beyond just 48 months. So I think that we need to beyond 24 months. Pardon me. Beyond 2 years. So we need the fullness of the term of this president to be able to see how far things have come. But on every sector, the world is celebrating the progress we're making. Our foreign exchange reserve is now going upwards of 40 billion naira. From maybe about 6 to 8 million just a few years ago. The subnationals, the state governments and the local governments are getting 3-4 times what they used to get in allocation, and are able to pay down some of their debt and begin to now provide real services to their people and to boost their local economies in their states. Local governments are also getting more money, and we're hoping that they too will begin to take on much more than they're taking on. This is all the result of this orchestrated policy reform of this government. So I think that Nigerians need to simply afford this president some patience and time to allow all of these systems to come together and deliver very potent outcomes. Already you can see that prices of food, commodities is beginning to come down. It's not anywhere near where it needs to be, that is for sure. But there's no denying that we're beginning to see results that show that from the peak where we got to initially after the reforms were introduced, and now we're beginning to see a downward slide. And our hope is that it will continue to go down. But let me say this to our people. You see, the economy we have today also presents very serious incentives for Nigerians to become engaged in real, productivity. Even in your backyard, you don't need 10 hectares of land to grow vegetables, to grow bell peppers and grow tomatoes and do things. It's an activity that families should enjoy and help to, provide food for themselves and for others. While the massive, industrial agricultural systems are, taking off, we can also become participants and beneficiaries in this system, that the opportunity offers. When, inflation hits and prices of food go up, those who produce the food are the ones who earn the money. Those who don't produce don't earn the money. So a farmer who is producing avocados now cost quite some money, but anybody who is growing avocado trees and who is producing fruits will benefit, will be smiling to the bank. So look, I think it's a moment for us to reflect and diversify as much as possible so that we can become self-reliant, guarantee food security for our people, and also earn both domestic and foreign exchange money for sustainable growth of the economy.
Okay. Beyond the economy, agriculture, and some other sectors that you have highlighted so far, power is also critical to the survival of any nation. I mean, if indeed we want to move the economy forward, then we must fix the challenges facing the power sector. I find there has been some improvement, but it's not complete. So how would you say the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has fared in the power sector?
Well, the administration is doing quite well. Like you noted, there's been quite a significant improvement in both generation and distribution of power. We are producing more power today, more than we have produced ever in the history of our country. The distribution of power is also improving drastically. There are areas of this country today where power is, relatively stable, where they get, in a day get upwards of 20 hours of power supply, occasionally with interruptions. But the government and the sector is improving their game, and it can only get better from here because the consciousness that power is critical to the growth and sustainability of our economy has never been this high. This government has never, no government has made power, of such a priority as this government has made power today. So I think that, again, because of the nature of power, the massive uptake in infrastructural development that's required to, build that capacity and to grow the capacity. Yes, it will take some time, but the benefits again are with us. And I think that Nigerians should, look at both the intentions and the actions of the government and the emerging results to then, grow their confidence that with time we will see a drastic improvement in power supply, and also with time the economies of scale will also, I think, lead to hopefully some reductions in the tariff, which I think many complain has become somewhat higher than what it used to be.
Okay, just like power, there are also some critical infrastructure that are germane to the development of any country. In terms of investment in the infrastructural development of this country, how would you rate the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, looking at it from different parts of the country?
In 2 years, again, at the summit of the All Progressives Congress, Minister Dave Umahi did present his midterm review, where he listed, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, well over 6,000 roads that have been completed under this administration in 2 years. That is a record that I'll have to again check on that number that I just provided, but it was something really mind-blowing. In terms of the number of roads that this administration has completed since its inauguration. This government has also embarked on major road projects like the Lagos Calabar coastal road that promises to open up that entire flank of the country to massive development. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of vision, and a lot of audacity to embark on such, mega projects that will provide that lifeline to the economy with time. So I think that infrastructure is key to economic growth and development. You can have that without, again, revamping our road networks, our train networks, air, transport facilities and infrastructure, which the government is doing. You've seen new airports being built, old airports being, remodeled, efforts made to, bring, infrastructure in the aviation sector up to par. You've seen, a lot of the reform that is going on in the aviation sector. So look, everywhere you turn in 2 years, you see remarkable, signs of, new lease of life coming into, all of these, areas of our national life. And I think that, by the time 2027 comes, at the end of the 4-year term of this president, I'm quite sure that even some of our people who remain skeptical today will probably be on rooftops proclaiming the accomplishment. Everywhere you look, you see signs of progress, of real progress in the economy. The other day, Mr. Otedola, Femi Otedola, who was, again,
commending,
hailing the reforms of this administration as responsible for his, over 300 billion naira investments in in
In a
First Bank.
particular financial institution.
He's not alone in that. There's a lot of people who are, coming in, bringing money back into the country, into the economy, because now they have a more predictable market-determined value of the naira. And so when they bring in an investment, they get real value rather than the phantom value that we were operating with for decades in this country. So the economy is beginning to pick up, and I know that with time we're going to, get to a place where Nigeria truly deserves to be.
Okay, before we let you go this afternoon, what do you have to say to those who have complained about the size of the ministers and appointees of this government, if indeed we are really serious about cutting down the cost of governance?
Yes, but before I answer your question, I'd like to correct a figure that I mentioned. I was thinking kilometers, but the number of roads, that this administration has, either completed or about to complete, about 279 roads around the country.
All right,
so I
that's
wanted to
noted.
make sure
That's
that
noted.
record was set straight. Now, regarding your question about
The size.
the size of the cabinet, is it, look, first, don't discount the fact that our constitution mandates that, the federal character principle be reflected in the creation of a federal cabinet. So there's a certain minimum that is a number of ministers or portfolios that, any president is required to have, going by our constitution. I think it's, at least one minister per state, if I'm not mistaken. Now, but every administration, given its own definition of its priorities, will decide how many ministers or offices to create in order to, efficiently and effectively deliver on its, targets under that administration. And so I don't think that the number is what matters.
We've been speaking with Mr. Felix Morka, the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, and of course, he's been able to give Nigerians the assurance that the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President is still on track, no matter the difficulties that we are facing now. There's no pain without gain, and of course, the future appears to look brighter than what we have now. My name is Ajibola Ojoshola. Many thanks for watching the show. We'll be back again next week, talking politics as usual. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.